You know what? I decided I'm making a video right now. Sorry, but I feel like I should. I feel like it's long overdue for the addictions thing. I mentioned it in my last video that I wanted to make it on addictions. I've already been wanting to make one for like 3 weeks about it. And then I feel like it's a strong one. So, personally, back in the day, I used to think addictions were just, the physical ones, the ones outwardly. Like too much drinking, too much drugs, too much this, too much that. What else can you be addicted to? Gambling and whatever else. But more and more as I learn and I walk through this life, I feel like God has been telling me more and more things, and I feel like there's more to addiction than just something physical. And some people like to say, oh, they just have an addictive personality and this and that. But then if you look at the broad spectrum of addiction, we all have addictive personalities. So I'm on my Facebook, like on my laptop. That's crazy and weird. I look super kind of geeky, nerdy. No offense to anybody who does that. I'm just saying, for me. But anyways, I went all up into this, okay? I looked up, there's this really cool cat. He's really smart. But anyways, I looked up online what addiction was, and it gave me these things. But I also seen on Merriam-Webster the definition of an addict. And the definition here is to devote or surrender oneself to something habitual or obsessively. So, devote and surrender oneself to something habitual or obsessively. So that can be anything. That could be anything, for real. Like, that could be chocolate. That could be like complaining, like I said in my other video. And I need to shut this because that's too distracting. But anyways, it's like, but why do we only think that addiction only goes like skin deep? That we like to point like, oh, they're just an addict. Well, it has to start somewhere. And I think, like, personally, I used to be addicted to pessimism, to being negative about everything, to being just negativity would spew out of me like a negativity volcano. And it was terrible. It was terrible. And when you give in to something, it starts just like a physical addiction. You give in to something, and what I mean by physical addiction is just like drugs or alcohol or whatever else that, people go to rehab for. So, it's like, it starts off small. Oh, I'll have here and there. And then if you get hooked, and you keep having more and more and more, and then, oh, I'm not addicted until you are. And then you don't want to admit it. And not all cases. Some people know they're addicted right away, but a lot of people are in that denial stage. And when does it become an addiction? It's more like it becomes an addiction when you no longer can control it. And it does something negative. And you know it, but you can't control it. You just partake in it, whether it's good or bad for you. No matter who you're hurting, even if you're hurting yourself, you no longer have control over your desire for it. It has control over you. And just like I was saying earlier, the negativity, there'd be times where I would spot it and be like, you know what? I don't like that I do that. I really wish I wasn't doing this right now. I really wish I wasn't just being totally negative Nancy and telling everybody just how life sucks and everything sucks and complaining about absolutely everything under the sun. But I couldn't help it. It was just something, it was a habit. And you can become addicted to habits. Just like bad eating. You can be addicted to eating chocolate or, a bunch of stuff that isn't necessarily good for you. Or you could be addicted to, I think habit is something like an addiction. You just do it and it becomes habit. But addiction is usually something like negative. So I guess my point is, what are you addicted to? Are you addicted to complaining? Because that's a big one. I'm actually working on that currently as we speak. I realized it. I talked to my friends at my other job, and I had wanted to stop. Because one of my supervisors told me, he's like, you really got to sleep more or eat more or something. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, because you're constantly talking about it. You're constantly saying it. And it's like, do it. And I kind of was like, oh man, are you mad at me? But then I realized, and I was like, oh man, so my complaining is not only not helping me, but also spreading negativity to other people. And it's like poisonous, and it can get tiresome for others, almost like a burden. And I realized it, but then I hadn't realized that I was addicted to it until I couldn't stop. I realized I was doing it, but it had control over me. I couldn't control it. It had control over me. So every time it was so strong that even though I wanted to stop, I couldn't. I just do it. I'd complain and complain, even though it's hurting people around me and hurting myself. I just couldn't stop. And then I tried, but then I dropped the ball because it was so hard and it was a habit. So I was like, oh, I give up. And I think that's how a lot of people deal with addictions. Even when they want to stop, it's just hard, so we give up. But we'll never kick an addiction that way. So all of a sudden, it took me like an entire year. Last week, it was last week I started. I picked back up that ball again. That's the awesome thing about, giving up. You can always start again. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try again. And you know what? This time, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep trying, even if I fail. Even if I'm not doing so well at it, I'm going to continue trying because that's the only way it's going to go away. So I prayed about it, and it was hard, really hard at first, and I'm not saying I'm over it at all. I'm still trying to figure out the difference between a statement and a complaint, because I'm like, oh, I'm so tired, or I'm hungry. Is that a statement or is that a complaint? What's the difference? I have to look up these definitions. If somebody knows the difference, let me know. If that's a complaint, let me know, because I'm trying not to complain anymore. So it's been difficult. The first day was like, oops. And sometimes it just slipped my mind and didn't even realize I complained. But now I'm starting to spot it more. And even in my mind, I'm stopping complaining. Because you try to stop with your mouth. And then, but it might still occur in your mind. But I even want it to stop occurring in my mind so it won't even have a chance to escape my mouth, because it's not here. It's not right here and almost like word vomit, it's just going to come at any moment. So it's been hard. I'm not there, but I'm trying, and I haven't dropped the ball this time. Last time I tried, I dropped the ball within a couple days or a day. I was just like, that's too hard. I'm not doing it. Whereas this time, I started like last week and I'm still going. I'm still fighting. And I think I'm getting stronger. I really do. And yeah, I am. Because today, there was so much to complain about. But I wouldn't. Every time I started to be like, this is, if I didn't have to work, if I didn't have to, not barely get no sleep, and now we're running and this, and then I caught myself, and I was like, no, you know what? And then a good counter to a complaint is being thankful. So instead of complaining, I do the exact opposite. Be like, you know what? Thank you, Jesus. I'm up today. It's Christmas Eve. There's family. Nah. So instead, I'd replace it with being thankful. And now I realize I'm a lot more thankful than I was just by trying to stop complaining. So it's super awesome. And I'm not saying it's not hard to kick something that you have a habit or an addiction. But if you stop trying, you'll never kick it. But if you continue trying, even after you feel like you failed, even after you feel like it's not working, but you keep trying, you will succeed. You will succeed. But don't drop the ball. But if you do drop the ball, pick it back up. And even if you get to a dribble, eventually that dribble will hopefully turn into where you're just holding that ball completely. And then you got it in the bag. You're good to go. You're good to go. You can't, and it's awesome to say, man, I don't struggle with that no more. Really, change, progress, it's amazing. So anyways, that's kind of my take on addictions. It's like, before you start judging your brother, saying, you know what, you got a problem, dude, you got a problem. Why isn't this changing your attitude? You can't even quit for your kids. You can't even quit for nobody. You can't quit for the ones you love. Nah. And I know that sounds really bad, but what are you not able to quit? If it's not if you don't have a drinking problem, if you don't have a drug problem, what habits do you have that aren't good? And they're not good, or others say aren't good. What habits do you have that you're not able to quit, that have control over you? If you look deep enough and you dig deep down, you'll probably find at least one thing. And then you can properly say to somebody, oh, you don't do this, you don't do that. And most likely, if you do find something that you're addicted to and it's really hard to kick, you're going to be able to relate to that other person who can't kick that addiction more. And then most likely you're not going to want to just bash them. Because it's like, you know what, dude, I understand. I get it now. I get it. That makes sense. So, I think people do try to be at their best. I really do. And life just kicks people down. The enemy, everything. But I think people do try. Or, if they're not trying, at one point, they want to. So, I don't know. Love people. Be the difference. But yeah, that's my take on addiction. And yeah, I can't be one to be like, you know what? Why haven't they kicked it? Why haven't they done this? Why haven't they done that? Because it's like there's things that I do that I haven't been able to kick yet. There's things that I currently do that I'm not proud of and I wish were gone. But they will be because I'm trying. So, love you guys. My mom's coming and I like to do my videos alone because I feel so